Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today. Today, we're going to be going over NetApp's new data service of NetApp Cloud Sync. And this is a way you can leverage your data in ways previously not possible, enabling a lot of faster transfers of your data up to the cloud and leveraging the services or pulling your data back from AWS S3 to your NFS file systems. My name is Kevin Hill. I'm a Cloud Solutions Architect at NetApp. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. So one of the biggest challenges people face is trying to embrace and leverage the hybrid cloud services that they have up in AWS. So part of that has been a problem with data transfers. Data transfers can be lengthy, it can be expensive, they have to be redone time and time again. And as we know, data is very critical to all of our processing, and the only thing that actually ever increases as time goes on is the amount of data that we have. And with the hybrid cloud model, bridging your on-premises system with the public cloud, you're needing almost a constant data transport from pushing your data from your on-premises into the cloud. And this is where customers like yourselves are finding it hard to do or finding it not as effective as they want. So they're seeking better solutions on how to do this more efficiently, and cost-effectively, and most importantly, securely. And with that, NetApp has partnered with AWS to offer this kind of service to you. So what we've done, we're a company where we focused on data management and storage solutions. We've been doing it for over 20 years. We've been working with AWS for several years now on many different solutions. This new service is only the latest offering. So this is a way we can actually leverage your data, push it up into the AWS cloud, and leverage AWS services on top of that for your deeper analytics. And talking a little bit about how the cloud service works, well, the first thing is that, looking at the slide here, and I don't know if you guys can see my mouse, but this is where we can link your NFS file system. You leverage a data broker in your AWS account, and then push the data up into your S3 bucket. The thing that's nice here is that we only have to do the initial load one time. So we keep a catalog of what your file system looks like. So the next time you actually have any changes, only the changes need to be sent. So it's one full and then incremental forever. And then once it's up in the public cloud, you can go and leverage whatever service you might see fit. Elastic MapReduce, Redshift, RDS, maybe even the new service that they've announced, which is Athena, which you can do SQL queries on your S3 buckets. So then once you get the results from your analytics, excuse me, you also have the option of pushing that data back down to your on-premises systems, either for other processing you want to do internally, or you can actually just leverage it in whichever way you see fit. But we have had requests where they want customers want to sync their object store back to your NFS file system. And with that, I do want to get into a demo. I want to keep the slides at least a little bit light, so we're not going to do too many slides. I will try to take questions as we go. I'll hopefully see them when they come up. But right now, let's go ahead and get into a demo. And hopefully this is going to come up. All right, it's showing green. All right. So one of the first places you're going to start in order to get access to the Cloud Sync service is you should go to cloud.netapp.com. And once on cloud.netapp.com, you can look at all sorts of products and solutions that we have, but mainly you're going to be interested in the services that we have, and this is where you click on the Cloud Sync service. This directs you to our Cloud Sync page. You can find out more information. There's some other videos that are here, some other key characteristics, helpful information, and some pricing details towards the bottom. But really what we're interested in is the 30-day free trial. And by clicking on this, that'll traffic me over to another page. And I guess I'm already logged in, so it's taking me right in it. But let me come back out for real quick. So this takes me over to datafabric.io. And here we can do two things. One, we can either sign up or log in. Let me look at the sign up really quick. And here you just provide some easy, quick information. Your name, your email, password that you want to use, your company, and also your AWS account ID. This is so we can know which account that you're linked with and where you want to push your data into the S3 buckets. And this is also where if you don't know how to get your AWS account ID, there's a helpful little information button here that enables you to find your ID really quickly. And then also you can find out more information about the free trial. So you can get subscribed to the AWS Marketplace or purchase a Bring Your Own License key. I'll cover those in just a second. Since I've already signed up, and I'm going to go and log in with my credentials. And what happens here is I'm taking in and I'm seeing several of my relationships. So the dashboard is refreshing. And what you can also see towards the bottom is I've got a 30-day free trial that I've already subscribed to and I'm processing. Now, if I haven't subscribed yet, and I don't need to for the first 30 days, all of my relationships that I'm doing, either pushing data into the cloud or coming back out of the cloud, are free of charge. So, but if I want to subscribe, this will change to blue. But if you haven't subscribed yet, it'll be more of a golden color. So, and let's go look at a little bit more information about our licensing. You can look at our license settings up here. And I see that I have already subscribed to via the AWS Marketplace. I've got 4 free relationships right now. I can also have a Bring Your Own License, or BYOL. This is where you can contact NetApp or NetApp rep, purchase a license that will cover several of the relationships that you might use, and you can apply the license just by adding the license, 1 or more licenses, the serial number and your credentials for your NetApp user, and just add those in. And that'll take care of any of the relationships that you have covered by the license. If you have additional relationships that you establish, anything over the BYO license will actually then be covered just by the pay-as-you-go model. So let's also look at the other subscription. If you want to view the pricing model via the AWS Marketplace, just click on the link. This takes you to our AWS Marketplace page, and you can find out more details here as well. So different product descriptions, other resources for you, videos or documentation, and also some of the pricing details. Now, if you haven't subscribed yet, you can just click on Continue. And the next page is actually where you can click on Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, or confirmation that you actually have subscribed. So that's pretty straightforward. Let's go back to the service itself, and I'll go look at my sync relationships. And here I can actually do a couple of different things. I can actually go and manage my relationships if I'd like, but let's go and add a new one really quickly. So just click on Create New Sync Relationship. I also identify the direction. I'm going from NFS to S3, or I can switch the direction and go from S3 to NFS. Pretty straightforward. Or I can actually click on this several times and make the little arrow spin. But if I can go ahead and say NFS to S3, so click on Continue. Here's where I actually identify the NFS source. So I can identify the IP address or the host name for my NFS server. I've actually provided one here before. This is actually from one of my ONTAP cloud systems. And in order to select this, I'll just go and select it. Just click on it. You get a confirmation that it's there. Click on Continue. And now I select a data broker. The data broker is what controls, syncing your data between your NFS file system and S3 or vice versa. I have a couple that are here already. Now, if you don't have one, you just need to add one easily. So if you click on Add a Data Broker Instance, this is where it'll go through and create the instance in your AWS account that you've identified. So also some helpful information about the video or documentation. Simply give it a name. I've done Data Broker 2, 3. Let's just be consistent. Data Broker 4. And then I can go ahead and click on Create. But the one thing I do want to point out here, the data broker must have a connection to the NFS server. Now, this NFS server happens to be in my AWS account. However, if you're connecting back to your on-premises systems, and then you want to sync with your S3 buckets, you're going to have some sort of network connection. This is going to be either a dedicated network connection like Amazon's Direct Connect, or you're going to have a secure connection over a VPN tunnel that you've established with your Amazon network or virtual private cloud. So this is where we'll go ahead and click on Create. I'm being redirected to my AWS account. I've actually logged in already under the covers, but what this is doing is it's taking us into CloudFormation. And we have a CloudFormation template that's used in order to go ahead and launch that data broker. And we see that this template is here. I can view or pull that up if I want. The only thing you really need to do here is just click on Next. And we now need to provide some details. So we see Data Broker 4, which is the name of our data broker in our account. It's also the name of the stack, the CloudFormation stack that's going to get launched. And now we just need to identify which networking components that we want to use. So which virtual private cloud, and yep, I want to use CSG Prod. And which subnet to use, whichever one is the best one. And I think I want to use this one, CSG Prod 2. And an EC2 key pair file in case you want to try and access the data broker manually later on for some reason. So just a key pair file you know that you have access to. And click on Next. We can also tag the instance. I'll just do purpose, webinar, and anything else for permissions or advanced. Now, I don't need to provide anything else here. Depending upon your own policies and requirements, you can identify other roles for launching this instance. And I just need to click on Next. And here we have a review pane. Again, being able to look at the template, some of the details of where I'm going to launch it, the optional tags, and notification. So the following resources require certain capabilities. There's an IAM role, or Identity and Access Management role, that's applied to this instance. What this is really for ensuring that the data broker can communicate with your S3 buckets. Now, this is to be ordered to do the puts for pushing data in, or dropping, deleting anything, depending upon how the synchronization goes, or doing gets if you're doing a synchronization from S3 back to NFS. And that's really all that's doing. So I can go ahead and acknowledge and create. And if you're familiar, this is what you'll end up seeing for your CloudFormation stacks. These are some earlier stacks. This does not refresh by default, so I just hit the refresh button here. And I can see that now my new data broker creation is in progress. Okay, and that's really all we need to do here. We can go back over to this service, and we can see that we've got a placeholder for our new data broker. Now, it's kind of grayed out. The overall launching of this and establishing the new IAM policy will take roughly 6 minutes, but once that's up and available, you'll see details like these. So we can use one of these other data brokers. More than likely, if you're going to be using the Cloud Sync service and you're in different regions, you'll more than likely have one data broker per region, but that's really going to be up to you. So I'm going to select this data broker. You can see that it's highlighted in blue. That means it's selected. And I'll just click on Continue. Now from my NFS server, I can find the different directories that I have available to me. And I'm just going to go click on, I think I'll just take source code, or I can dive into the subdirectories as well and select a subdirectory if I want to do that. In this case, I just want to go and select the main directory, so source code, continue, and select a bucket. Now this is really any of my S3 buckets, and I mean any. This is for any region. So any and all regions. So I can see I've got some in US East, I've got some in Asia Pacific, I have some in Oregon. I really am in Virginia as far as where I want to process my data. So let's see, I'm going to use, this is kind of what I've used earlier today. So I can either select the whole bucket, or I wanted to show a new feature that we've added, where I can create a folder of my choice within this bucket. If I want a new bucket, I need to go and use AWS services to create the new bucket. But within this bucket, I can create a folder for this purpose. So I just want to create a new bucket. I don't think I have a webinar. So, yep, hit the new bucket, and then click on Continue. And another new feature is relationship tags. Now, if any of you went to AWS reInvent last week, or saw some of the announcements, AWS announced that they now have object tagging for S3. Now, this is where we've been working with AWS for quite a while in order to be able to add the appropriate tags for objects that you're pushing into S3. So that's what this is. You can add up to 9 tags through this user interface, and just any of the objects that are as part of this relationship will receive these tags. And I mentioned using Athena earlier on. Well, Athena is a SQL kind of service to be able to run against your object store. So that should, I haven't tried it yet, but it should allow you to be able to go and search and gather other metrics based upon the tags that are going to be on your objects. So here, purpose, and that one, webinar, and I'll add another one. And maybe if I can spell owner, Kevin. and just click on continue and review. So this is reviewing our overall relationship. Here's our sync relationships, my NFS server and directory, the data broker I selected, and the bucket and folder which I want to go into. And all I need to do now is just click on create relationship. Now, this will actually happen very, very fast. The engine for the data broker goes ahead and parallelizes the data transfers and pushes things up very, very quickly into AWS. So let's go look at the dashboard. That's this new one on the bottom. So, okay, again, notification that you have the ability to run all sorts of AWS services on top of your S3 buckets now. And I also can dive into more details. This is the one that we just launched, but I can look at more details by clicking on expanding the details by clicking on the list or tile option there. So this is what we just did. We syncing to the webinar bucket, and that's done. It's already synced. Not a whole lot of data, just a little under a gig, but it's very, very, very fast. And what I can do here too, I can go ahead and delete this relationship if I want. So if this is something like a one-time synchronization I want to put in place, I can go and delete the relationship. Deleting this relationship does not delete the data. The data is still going to remain in my S3 bucket. So that's all there. This is just removing the relationship. I can also, if I do have a regular sync schedule, the sync schedule by default is once a day. I could, if I don't want to do this but infrequently, I can just turn the schedule off. Or if I want to do it more frequently, I could change it to something like every 4 hours and just save that. So it'll actually synchronize based upon how the schedule I set. Okay, that's all there is to that. But let's go and create another relationship going the other way because it is slightly different. So it's slightly different, but very, very much the same. So if I switch the direction, I'm going to go from AWS S3 to NFS. Again, I select the data broker. In this case, I'm just going to choose the same exact data broker I used before. Now I identify the bucket I want to use. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and let's go and check. I'll just use that same folder. We did webinar. I'll take that folder, and then I'll synchronize it back to a different file system on my NFS system. Here's the NFS server I want to use, the same one or a different one. And again, any NFS server, it doesn't have to be NetApp, doesn't have to be just NetApp. And I pulled from source code. Let's go ahead and push that into my home directory. Yeah, probably not what you always want to do, but this is purpose of example. So I'm just going to push that in my home directory. Click on continue. And again, let's just review the sync relationship. I'm going from my S3 bucket, and I'm going into my home directory through this data broker. Click on create relationship. And there we go. So I have a slight lag because I actually am on Wi-Fi. But that's going to get started. So I'm going to go view in the dashboard. So viewing the dashboard, here's my new relationship. Let's look at the expanded details. And I can see this looks slightly different from my NFS to S3 synchronization. I can see that I've got several objects that are synchronizing right now. Tells me a number of how many objects I'm really going to be pushing from S3 to NFS, and then how many I've completed. So this is going to increase as we talk. But the other thing too that is interesting here is that this is an event-driven synchronization. So it's slightly different from the NFS to S3 where we have a schedule. This is where the data broker will go and look at your S3 bucket, and as it notices that there's new objects being added or removed from that bucket or from the folder that you've selected in that bucket, it will then go through and update the NFS file system immediately. So there's no need to actually do any other scheduling. If you want to try and actually stop that, this is where you'd actually just delete the relationship. Again, no data is going to be deleted from NFS, but you have a way of actually going through and synchronizing everything just as you would like. So I don't need to delete that. And that's that's really probably about it. Also, if you want to try and check out the timeline, this is a log of any of the actions that you performed from your service. And I can dive into those details later if you like. But that's really all there is to it. So with that, let's go back over to our presentation. If I can get over there. Okay. Now, what does this mean? So what does it mean for deeper analytics? This is something that's, helping you enable to use the AWS services to process your data in ways like never before. We're also lowering your overall total cost of ownership by being able to push your data to the cloud effectively and efficiently and super quick. It's usually about 30 times faster than traditional methods to push your data up to the cloud. Also, we can ensure that it's secure because we're using the internal AWS private networking in order to transfer your data. If you're on premises, again, you've got a dedicated direct connect connection, or you're going to have a VPN connection which you control and make sure that you've got your IPsec tunnels on top of that. And this is pretty simple and pretty straightforward. You've seen the user interface through the demo. It can't really get much simpler than that. And it's effectively a very seamless integration, which you have total control over. And the best way for you to get more information or to get started, again, is going to be going to cloud.netapp.com and clicking on the services, selecting the Cloud Sync service, and then just getting started. And with that, very, very quick introduction and review of the Cloud Sync service from NetApp. But now let's see if any questions came in. I think I see one from John. So just to be clear, NFS server is equal to on-premises NetApp ONTAP vServer, correct? The answer is it's any NFS server. So it does not have to be a NetApp system. It doesn't have to be from a ONTAP cloud system. It can be any ONTAP flavor, either legacy 7 mode or new cluster mode, or now what we're just calling ONTAP. It can be from a competitor's NFS service. It can be pretty much from anything. So let's see, and we have another one came in. What is the future for SIFs? SIFs is live and well. Well, the future for SIFs for this service, the short answer is we're working on it. So we do recognize that there are a lot of file services that customers use on SIFs and SMB. We don't have that available yet, but we are definitely working on it. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to talk too much more about that. If you want, please contact me at hill@netapp.com. Again, that's HILL@netapp.com, and then I can try and get you in touch with the product management folks, and we can hopefully get you an answer that way. So let's see the next ones. There was a question on if the data is being encrypted during data transfer, and the answer is no. We're relying on the security of the AWS Virtual Private Cloud networking they have. So this is your own internal networking, not internal, your own cloud-based networking that is totally private and under your control within your VPC. So the only thing that you're going to need to be able to ensure is there's communication path between your NFS file system and then your data broker. And that's either going to be inside your network. Typically, it's going to be in your own private network. So again, a direct connect connection or a VPN connection with an IPsec tunnel. You can either use the software-based or the hardware-based services from AWS. And then you would have to have some communication path from your data broker to your S3 buckets. And is NetApp planning on providing cloud services directly? I have to admit, I'm not exactly sure. I don't really quite understand the question. This is a cloud service that we're offering in conjunction with AWS. This is where we're leveraging AWS's software as a service new billing structure. So this is a totally supported solution from NetApp in order to help do your synchronization. And let's see, is Cloud Sync available for sale and use today? Yes, that's the short answer. So this is available out in the marketplace. Everything that you've seen me do today is something you can go right now and start using. It's out. So yeah, short answer is yes. This is live and well, and these are capabilities that were again. This was a live demo, so yeah, you can totally go get it right now. What service providers are in the roadmap? So what other service providers in the roadmap? Azure software. So for the Cloud Sync service, this is currently AWS only. We are working on providing, people have asked about having a private cloud version of Cloud Sync. So instead of a public cloud-based object store, than actually using a private one. Similar, so as example, this would be something where you might leverage AWS storage grid web scale in a private form, but the other hyperscalers are on the roadmap. And let's see, next one. I think the question is, will NetApp seek to become a cloud provider? Okay, thank you, Nolan, for the clarification. The answer is no. We're not trying to become a cloud provider. We're trying to integrate with any of the cloud providers that are out there. So, leveraging the capabilities and services they have available to our customers, but our partners are the ones that are going to be the cloud providers. We're just seeking to try and leverage the cloud services or offer our customers the ability to leverage the cloud services however they see fit. And let's see. Long uses. What is the difference between CloudSync and Fabric Pool? So the difference there is it is quite a bit different. So Fabric Pool, for those of you who may not be aware, Fabric Pool is a feature that is not available yet, but is coming sometime in the near future. Sometime, I think mid next year. I believe that's as specific as I can get. And that's really where it's Fabric Pool. You can think of Fabric Pool as automated tiering. That is really where you link a SSD or a flash aggregate, either from a physical ONTAP system or from an ONTAP cloud system, based upon EBS GP2 under the covers. And then you can also identify an S3 bucket to offload, I'm using finger quotes, cold data. So anything that's not been accessed in a while with a Fabric Pool, you can either identify to push your snapshot data or your inactive data to the S3 pool, freeing up the higher performance, more expensive flash storage for your active or your active workloads or your hot data. So that's really more of a seamless integration underneath the covers. What CloudSync is synchronizing your NFS file systems with S3, and it's effectively a copy. So this way is where it's different than in the integration that Fabric Pool is going to offer. This is where you can actually push your data up into object-based storage, and then you can leverage the services to do deeper analytics. And this is something that's been very interesting for our financial customers to be able to go ahead and use a lot of the RDS services and Redshift to be able to go and crunch that data like they've not been able to do previously. And I also think that with the Athena service, as well as the object tagging, that's going to be able to say, oh, how much more is my HR data, or how much more is this data from this cost center increasing or decreasing. So it's a way to look at your data in a lot more granular fashion. And as our files saved as individual objects, and is the directory hierarchy preserved? The answer is yes. I should have done it, and I didn't. But actually, since we're live here, let me see if I can go back over to something to show you guys. I'm going to share my screen again, and hopefully with the buffering, things have actually come up. So this is my S3 bucket for my account. And so I've gone through, I think I went into demo video. So in demo video, I'm just going to open that up. I can see that I've got a couple of different file folders that I stood up previously. And then here's the webinar one. So I sync my source code into webinar. So this is in the exact file structure that I had before. So any of the directories, subdirectories, when we push the information, or effectively put the information into your S3 bucket, we'll create the other appropriate folders or subfolders, and then shove the appropriate files into those folders. So short, long-winded way of saying, yes, we preserve the overall structure. And let's see. I believe that is all of the questions right now. So with that, I think we're done. If you do happen to have any other questions later on that you think of, please feel free to contact me. Again, this is Kevin Hill from NetApp. Best way is my email address, Hill, Hill, @netapp.com. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this was informative and helpful, and please stay tuned for other webinars that we're going to have about NetApp Cloud and NetApp Cloud Services.